towns. What the heck is a Zoom town? Leigh from Guaranteed Rate and I sit down and discuss this and other current headlines in today's video.
Hey everybody, it's Leigh, producing branch manager and loan originator at Guaranteed Rate in Boise, Idaho. And I'm here joined again by the amazing, the beautiful Charlotte Jean. Charlotte, good morning. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, doing great. Hey, great. We're here with our Let's Get Real About Real Estate segment where Charlotte and I, we scour the headlines. We go find something that's newsworthy that maybe you're not seeing in an effort just to keep you updated on things that are impacting the housing market. And I think we've got a pretty good one today, Charlotte. This whole Zoom town thing, when you shared that with me, I was like, wait a minute, Zoom towns? Talk to me about what's going on here with that. So I'm going to let you lead off on this one.
Sure. So I was looking at an NPR article this week, and it was talking about Zoom towns. And I had never heard that term before, but it totally makes sense after you understand what it is. Basically, it's towns or vacation towns that are not too far outside of metropolitan cities that people often vacation in. Like the example they give in the article is Truckee, California, which is just outside of San Francisco, well, just by 3 hours. But they're seeing a huge boom in the real estate market and buying because people are able to work remotely. Like all these businesses are seeing that their employees can work remotely and still be productive, and it's kind of becoming a new norm. And so a lot of buyers are actually able to escape the big city, go to a really beautiful town that has a lot of extracurricular things like skiing and hiking and all the things that, like, I don't know, Boise has, and still work and be productive, and it's way more affordable. So they're calling them Zoom towns because people can work remotely and Zoom into their work. And I just thought that was really fascinating.
And, it just highlights that whole change that the pandemic has really brought to our economy, right? Like we always use the term, and it's not cliche anymore, the new normal. Mm-hmm. Like this is a perfect example of that, because I don't know how many people that I've talked to that have got these permanent, I mean, not like temporary, permanent remote workplace agreements with their companies. You can go and work in your home office and Zoom in forever. Like we don't care. That's just what you're going to be allowed to do. And so, yeah, I mean, if you can save a bunch of money and relocate 3 hours away, why wouldn't that be something you'd at least consider, right?
Exactly. And there's a lot of people that that's going to affect for sure.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, that trend, because I don't think that trend is going to go away. It might slow down after a while when the pandemic's over, there's a vaccine or a treatment or, whatever's happened. But like I've said, I've talked to people that have permanent remote workplace agreements with their company. They can work from their home office for forever. It doesn't even matter anymore. So
exactly. I mean, we recently had a client that relocated from Washington that had that very situation. He's able to work remotely from here. His company's in Washington. So, I mean, it's a pretty nice gig.
Yeah. Oh yeah. As long as you can make it work. And with Zoom and all of these other technologies that are now just so commonplace in our world, why can't you make it work, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Zoom towns I thought was pretty interesting. And the next thing we wanted to share with you, and I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share, is just, I want people to understand a little bit about the media and how they try to scare you. Now, again, I like to use the adage, if it bleeds, it reads. And that's really what the media likes to do. They want to shock you. They want to scare you. They want to come up with headlines that'll get you to stop and, whoa. And I guess before I share, I mean, we'll talk about that real quick, because Charlotte, in a previous episode, we were talking about this whole idea of especially on your side. So Charlotte's a realtor, I'm a lender. Charlotte is usually the first contact for somebody that wants to buy a home. So Charlotte, let me role play and I'll be your buyer. Charlotte, I'm interested in buying a home, but I want to wait until those foreclosures come because I know everybody's lost their jobs. So when do you think that's going to happen?
Well, honestly, I don't think it's going to happen, at least not in the near future. We have all these homes where people, even if they bought a year ago, they have a large equity built up just because of the price appreciation. So if for whatever reason they lost their job, they wouldn't foreclose. They could still pay realtor fees and still come out ahead. They have enough equity that they could at least pay their realtor fees and advertising and all that. So I just don't see that coming into fruition anytime soon.
Yeah.
At least not here.
Yeah, totally agree. And that's the perfect setup for what I wanted to show here. So let me go ahead and share this screen now with that setup there. And Charlotte, thanks for role playing that, because I get those conversations as well. I just don't want to buy a home, no, because I know that prices are going to crash when the foreclosures come, because that's what always happens when we have a recession, right? I mean, that's the mindset that people have. So what you're seeing on my screen right here, literally just 2 days ago, CoreLogic blog, serious delinquency spike reaching highest rate in more than 5 years. So what they're talking about here is the loan report. So the report on mortgages being paid on time, or 30 days late, or 60 days late, or 90 days late, or in some phase of foreclosure. So that's what this report measures. So the first thing I want to call your attention to, and then you have to read inside the report to actually see this, but it still may be an in one ear and out the other. So the data is always looking backwards, but in June 2020, 7.1% of home mortgages were in some stage of delinquency. So that's defined as at least 30 days late, up to in the foreclosure process. That's actually slightly lower than it was in May of 2020. So the serious delinquency rate has actually decreased by 2.2%. Now, you wouldn't get that by reading the headline, would you, Charlotte? That's kind of a thing that says, whoa, we're getting into a bad place, but things are actually trending better. You see what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
And as we dig into it even more, what's very interesting is if you compare it to last year at the same time, it's actually better too. So let me see, here we go. Share of mortgages that were 30 to 59 days past due. So we call those 30 days late in the industry. It was 1.8% in June of 2020. So 1.8% of mortgages were 30 days late. But that's actually down from a year ago when they were 2.1%. So now I'm scratching my head a little bit, right? So wait a minute, we're in a pandemic. Last year at this time, correct me if I'm wrong, Charlotte, I don't think we were in a pandemic last year, right?
No, we weren't.
So the number of mortgages that are late are lower in a pandemic than they were a year ago, not in a pandemic. And so as we start to think about things like that, you can really get stuck when you don't dig into the data if you just get stuck on the headlines. Because again, I don't want to say that it's a conversation that I'm tiring of, but I'm kind of tiring of it. I hear all the time with people saying, I'm scared to buy a home. I don't want to buy a home because I know that there's this foreclosure rush that's coming. And right. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. You don't see it. And again, just to what you said, I'll share this screen again because we talked about this on our last Let's Get Real with Real Estate segment. This is the nation's home price index increase in 1 year. So this is back a year ago. Idaho, where you and I call home, the home prices have increased almost 12% in 1 year. So yeah. Charlotte, I know we were talking off camera here about you have a client that literally bought a home a year and a half ago or something like that. And they did pretty good from the numbers you shared with me.
Yeah. They bought a home about a year and a half ago. And if they had to sell right now, they would get a minimum of $80,000 in equity.
And that's net of realtor commissions and closing costs that sellers pay, right? That's literally the amount of the check that they'll put in their pocket and bank account, right?
Pretty crazy, yeah.
So that's what we want to make sure you're seeing. If you're saying that you want to wait to buy a home, at least in Charlotte and I's area of Idaho and Treasure Valley, Boise, we're not seeing anything to indicate that that's coming anytime soon, because we've not only got a lot of people inbound relocating here, we also have this population of people called the millennials, right? And they are roughly defined as being born between 1982 and 2000. So they are in their prime home buying age right now, and they are a larger home buyer population than the baby boomers were. So if you have this largest home buying population ever, and you have this inbound relocation rush that we're seeing, coupled with the fact that we have so much year-over-year price appreciation, I just can't see where the foreclosures are going to come from, because let's just paint a picture here. Let's say that I was making $80,000 per year last year, and Charlotte helped me to buy a home, and my job went away with the pandemic, just wiped it out. Now I've got to go serve coffee at Starbucks, and I've taken a $50,000 hit to my income. If I bought a house a year ago or a year and a half ago, there's no way that's going to be a foreclosure because of all of the equity I have in there. And I'm probably going to do everything in my power to protect that equity, because why would I want to sell when I don't have to sell when this market's doing what it's doing? You follow what I'm saying? And Charlotte, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, we have it twofold, right? Like the market for the real estate for buying and selling is booming. The housing appreciation it's skyrocketing, right? So we have all these people that have the ability to buy and want to buy, and we have some people that want to sell, or if they had to sell, they could, and they would be able to have equity. They wouldn't, I mean, nobody would just throw away even $20,000, even $5,000. Nobody's going to throw that away. And I still go back to the fact that even if we did have foreclosures, right? Banks are not going to sell them at a discount of $50,000. They are going to sell them for market price. So even if there are, which we don't see, even if there are, it's not going to be like it was in the Great Recession where you're going to get a insane deal on a house. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. And you said that even better than I was thinking about it, Charlotte, because that's the whole thing. Foreclosures imply that the lender has taken back the house and they are selling that. So why would they sell it for less than market value? Why would they do that when that's their asset and they're trying to recoup their loan right there, right? If this market is as strong as it is and the supply demand imbalance is like it is, the bank is really incented to try to sell and make more money on that because they can, because that's what the market presents right now. So
exactly. And I think you would know better about this than I would. You know, they're trying to do everything they can to not get back to that place where there is foreclosures like that. I mean, they don't want to have to do that because it's, you know, stuff on their books, and it's a huge pain in them, you know, for them to go through the foreclosure process. So if they can help a seller or, you know, home owner prevent going down that process, they're going to.
Well, and let's give, yeah, you're right. And you bring up a great point that I'll illustrate a little bit more. So let's just contrast a cell phone contract that goes bad with a mortgage that goes bad. And it's an extreme example, but I think it'll be easy to follow here. So let's just say you go into the Verizon store and you sign up for a new 12-month contract and you get the free iPhone 11 and, you know, all that stuff, and it's great. And then you lose your job and you don't have the income to pay the cell phone bill, so you just stop paying it. What do you think Verizon's going to do if you stop paying? They're just going to shut you off and send you to collections, because now you owe them like $250 for the 2 missed months or whatever the deal was.
Right.
Just wipe their hands of it, send you off to the collection agency. Now, a bank, when they don't get their mortgage payments on their $350,000 mortgage, they can't start foreclosing right away because of the protections afforded to homeowners. So they have to wait not until you're 30 days late, not until you're 60, not until you're 90. They have to wait until you're 4 months past due at 120 days late. Then they bring in the attorneys, and then they start the foreclosure process. And then it takes another 6 to 7 months, at least in the state of Idaho. Other states can take up to 3 years to get a foreclosure completed. So it's expensive. And it's expensive not from the attorneys so much, but because of all of the missed payments for those loans that are now non-performing on those banks and lenders' books that they're not collecting on. So it is a huge, huge cost to lenders, and they don't want to go down that process. I mean, so if they do have to go down that process of foreclosure and they're losing all that money, why wouldn't they sell that home for the market price in an appreciated market to try to recoup all that, to your point? And you stated it real well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll wrap up on that, Charlotte, unless you have any other parting thoughts you want to share with anybody about the Zoom towns or about this foreclosure crisis that's not really coming that we see. Anything else you want to add for our viewers?
No, I think we covered it pretty well. I mean, if you have questions, please, you know, as always, reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer any questions or, you know, talk to you about it. So.
Yeah, for sure. So again, if you're watching this on Facebook and you think that this is good value add, you're taking information from there that's helping you, make sure you do a little like or a love or put a comment on there to let us know, hey, that was good. Or like Charlotte just said, if there's something that's burning you and you want us to dig into and research and talk about on an upcoming episode of Let's Get Real About Real Estate, we'd love to hear back from you on that. And if you know somebody who you think would benefit from this information, maybe it's a friend of yours or a family member that's saying things like, gosh, I'm going to wait for the foreclosure crash to come. Maybe this is good information to share with them. So feel free to tag them on the Facebook post. It'll always be publicly viewable. Just to feel free to share that with anybody and anyone you know that you think could benefit from it. So again, thanks so much for making us a part of your day. We appreciate the viewership, and we will see you next time on Let's Get Real with Real Estate.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
I hope this was helpful. As always, like, subscribe, and click that little bell. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.